Welcome everybody to another episode of What's Working in E-commerce. I'm your host, Egan Heath. I own a digital marketing agency called Caravan Digital. My team and I help our clients sell more products through their website using paid search, paid social, and email automation. And today I'm very excited because I'm speaking with Sebastian Herz. He's from Zignify Global Product Sourcing. Did I get that right, Sebastian?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Egan, for having me.
Right on. Tell us a bit about what is global product sourcing and why does that matter for e-commerce store owners and brands?
Great question, actually, really to start a podcast in here. I mean, e-commercers who do have physical, tangible products, they actually, of course, do need to get them from somewhere. Most of them, of course, they're not producing them themselves. Unless it's smaller business who usually starts, for example, selling on Etsy or selling the homemade handcrafted goods. But as soon as the business gets serious, usually they outsource it to companies who would produce it for them. And the global product sourcing, I guess, tells, of course, everybody knows you can get products from China. There are advantages as well as disadvantages to get it from China, especially in today's situation. And that's why, of course, there's also possibility if you're selling in the US, for example, to get products made in the US or in Mexico or in closer ways to home.
Yeah, that's a great overview. And Sebastian, we were chatting a bit before. Can you share with the audience a bit what you were telling me about how you got into this?
I mean, originally by degree, I went to university for electrical engineering. So I'm an electrical engineer by degree. I wouldn't really say by heart anymore. I spent 12 years in a Fortune 500 company in industrial automation. So originally, my task was both in Germany as well, then later in China, later still also lived in Singapore, and been working for industrial automation, chemical complexes, oil and gas platforms to automate those kind of businesses. But I always had a business on the side, and this is how it originally started, that back in 2014, I started bringing out my first brand, launching it, getting into the first baby steps and experiencing how the e-commerce business works. And it worked in such a way that I started over later on with selling it on Amazon. Back then there was a podcast by Scott Volker. I mean, he was like my original hero, I guess, for the amazing selling machine, or the amazing seller it was. And I started selling on Amazon, and later on brought my first brand also into the big box retails of Germany. So they're right now in thousands of stores of electrical, like the supermarkets, food retailers, DIY stores, and so on and so on. And later we started the second brand, that was last year. And at the same time, of course, this all connected to product sourcing. So I think this kind of closes the loop, while at the same time meeting my better half, who's now my girlfriend, wife, whatever, for about 10 years. And we both used to live in China. We got to know each other in China, and she's been doing sourcing all her life long. So by now for 17 years. In the very beginning, of course, she then started doing the sourcing for my products. And this is, of course, how it then grew to other businesses and more.
Thank you for talking about that. You know, for those of us who have not been to China, can you paint the picture a little bit? Is there a story you can tell us of those days when you were over there, meeting suppliers and manufacturers and sourcing? I think just if you could kind of tell us a story of like what it was like when you were first getting started over there.
I mean, when I went to China, it was actually for the company which I went for. That was for industrial automation. I was an expat, so I was sent from Germany to grow bridges or to build bridges to the Chinese market for the oil and gas and chemical business. But of course, at the same time, I mean, once coming to China, I have to say, it's not those super early days in the 80s or the 90s. No, I was in China in 2011 until 14. Then we moved to Southeast Asia. And of course, it was a very, very different world. It took me, to be honest, coming there as a German engineer, having your German expectations, want to do everything on point, being strict, tough, and go through it and whatever, get done what your company wants to get done. It took me about literally like 1.5 years until I really landed there and arrived and realized, like, Sebastian, it's a different world here. And then you start really, becoming part of it. But at the same time, of course, when we went to manufacturers, and you may think from the biggest factories to the smallest ones, it was quite often really a journey when you go out, not necessarily in a big city, but you drive hundreds of kilometers out into the countryside. You found the small factory there, and your task with this one, for example, is paintbrushes for a Russian DIY store. where you're supposed to check 28,000 paintbrushes in terms of quality. And you get there, you have the open field, you have the open doors, you have the workers sitting there, and nobody speaks English. And sometimes in the simplest ways as you can imagine, how the factory is run, literally like an open door factory, and you have all the boxes in front of you, and you're ready for checking the products. I mean, it is a very different world. While at the same time, you can of course come to companies which are highly automated, clean room facilities. You're being chauffeured around in your BMW 7 Series, taken from restaurant to restaurant to KTV to luxurious here and there, trying to be bribed and whatsoever. It's a very, very different world if you come from the US.
That's amazing. Thank you for painting that picture for us. I'm a little curious, just yeah, out of sheer curiosity, when you're checking quality or when you're trying to figure out who's a legit supplier and who should we use, what are you looking for and what are some of the red flags that would say, no, we don't want to work with this one?
Yeah, a great question, actually. I mean, this will answer a lot of questions, I'm quite sure, for your listeners. For once to say, of course, I mean, we do sourcing in China. This is, of course, where we also started. But the special thing for us is as well, we do also sourcing in pretty much any other country of the world. Our whole team by now is 100% remote. And by the way, it's all women plus me. So we grew in the last 18 months from one employee, my better half, to almost 50, and it's all women. And they're sitting all over the globe, there where the production happens, so that we can, of course, also go for quality control into the factories and search in mother tongue. So we're speaking more than 20 languages by now. And this actually also very, very often helps. When you speak the same language as the producer, you will get proposals and you will get answers. Plus, they see you, as part of them. Now, when it comes to the quality of the producers, of the suppliers, what to check about them, whether in China or outside of China. I mean, one of the first things, of course, you should do, is it a legit business? You see, good example, Mr. Wang at gmail.com may or may not be literally a legit business, but you should, of course, do some background checks about the company. Is it a registered company? If it's in China, does it have the export license? How open are they for OEM, original equipment manufacturer, if you come with your own brand, original design manufacturer, if you come with your own drawings? How easy and open are they to changes? And one other big question is it the real producer or is it a trading company? Because to be honest, if it's a trading company, this is for us, that's a red flag. We directly kick them out. We do not want to work with any trading companies. Why? Because they're in between traders. They're moving boxes. They don't really want to do any changes, and they hold the hand very wide open for 20, 40, 60, 80, 100% margin on top, because that's how they make their business. Others are, of course, that you would see, can you check, did they actually really produce this product before, or are they just pretending to say, yeah, we can do that product, but we have never actually done it? Or are they showing you samples which they maybe bought from a different company to show you samples to say, look, this is what it looks like, 1, 2, and 3, and you say, I'll pick number 2, and you expect the same product to come out, but they bought it from a different company and now try to re-engineer and rebuild it. So those are also some things, of course, to watch out for, while as well, basic things like, do they have negative reviews? How long are they on the market? Are they proven and checked suppliers? There are also services that go out and check the companies. Is the management, for example, what kind of companies are they involved? Can we see that they're maybe doing any fraud business? Do they have any lawsuits running against? I better stop. I don't want to overload you, but there's, of course, a lot of things to see. If you want to partner up with a supplier, it's kind of like a marriage. You're not going to marry anybody you just really don't know. And one of the first questions really, I mean, if you take this to the heart, it will answer so much. Like, if you get married to somebody, you will know that there will be tough times. You will have arguments, you will have fights, you will have different opinions. This one person wants to do it this way, the other one person wants to do it that way. There's a lot of negotiation going on. Question is, do you think with this person that you're going to marry, you will be able to go through those times? Because you will have troubles with your supplier. You will have different opinions, whether it's about price, about quality, about doing things, about speed. So be prepared that even everything in the beginning sounds like fantastic. there will be tough times. And if you can answer, it's like, that guy seems like I can imagine we can go through tough times as well, then it may be a good supplier.
Yeah, wow, a lot to consider. Thank you for talking through that. This might be a good time. Do you want to pull up your slide deck and talk through that? And while you're doing that, I have just a couple comments. Is just congratulations on your growth. It's unbelievable going to 50 employees in that time. And it sounds like, it's other than you, it's mostly, women running the company or doing things in the company. So that's wonderful. One comment is I find it very exciting in business now how international it is. And so we're a pretty small agency, but we've got our email marketing expert recently moved to France. Our podcast and YouTube editor is in the Philippines, and we have a new pay-per-click Google Ads expert who's based out of India, who's just phenomenal. Has been doing this 10 or 15 years or something, and we're just blown away by his quality. So I know what you're talking about. You have this distributed team. It sounds like you're dealing in a lot of different languages. So I'm just very excited to hear you talk about that, and it sounds like you really know how to find the great suppliers. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I just realized right now we've done one big mistake in our life. We've never worked with you yet. We grew to 50 people or 50 ladies, almost 50 ladies. We're not at 50 yet. I think we're at 47 or so. But we've never placed a single advertisement. Now, I think if we would have worked together with you and you would have done some marketing, some ads for us, the only advertisement we have done in the last month is like a few trade shows that we have visited. But and we hired the first actually the first two salespeople or sales ladies now in the last 2 weeks. Now imagine we would have gone with you into advertising. Maybe we'd be at 200 at the moment.
Right on. Well, thanks for saying so. We'll have to speak later. So for those of you who are listening or watching this, Sebastian on LinkedIn is called Sebastian the Connector Herz, and he has really built up a big network. So he's a great person to know and connect with. Sebastian, do you want to pull up your slides and talk us through some of what you have to teach us here?
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. The target for me, what I'm thinking here right now with this, I mean, it's one slide. I could probably keep you in here for 2 hours, but I really don't want to overload you with that much information. So I picked out, let's say, about 10 hacks to say when you are doing the sourcing yourself or yourselves, and you do want to find out how to do a better job or how to get better prices, how to find more suppliers, and so on and so on. I hope those hacks would, of course, just help. And as well, of course, if you decide to work with us, decide to work with a different sourcing company, just, in general, some hacks that I think would really make the life a lot easier. Whether you're selling on Amazon or you're selling on e-com in any way. Or, of course, if you sell tangible products, that you're actually already selling into small or big box retail businesses. So one of the first tips I always give to all of our customers is that thinking about how many suppliers would you usually contact. Now, the thing when we work, we always try to do it in the same way as this product would be ours. We do have 2 brands. We have about, with all the parents and children together, I think by now about 60, 65, 70 products or something like this. And with those products, if we find some for others, or if you, of course, do it on your own. Now, many of you would probably go out and say, hey, I'm going to get 2, 3, 4 proposals and see which one is the best one. And just decide for that, try it, take the product. We usually say is like, you throw it at the wall, you see if it sticks. And if it sticks, then you consider making it better. Now, in terms, what we usually do is when we go to China, we're trying to contact about 30 potential suppliers. And outside of China, about 60. Now, for a very, very simple reason is, if you're contacting 3, 4, 5 suppliers and you maybe get 3, 4, 5 proposals, which many cases will not be the case because out of those 5 suppliers, not all of them will build that product. Maybe you get 2 or 3 proposals, but then you have 2 or 3 prices. Let's say you have a high price, and a low price. With this low price, you're gonna go to the more expensive producers and say, hey, yeah, but you know what, here I have a cheaper price and they are the alternative. And what will be the expensive one saying? They will say, well, yeah, okay, there's a cheaper one that's lower quality, different material. I wouldn't really trust in this. We give you the real quality. Now, if you want to have a real market overview, and for the reason I'll tell you why 30 in China and 60 outside of China, is that we always target to find potentially 30 suppliers that can produce that product. And in China, usually you have a conversion rate of sometimes 100%. You place out 30 requests for a proposal, you get 30 answers and maybe 29 prices. So with this range of prices, assuming, of course, all of them could make this product, or even if it's 10, 12, 15, 20 proposals, you have a much, much, much wider range of getting your proposals and having a huge negotiation power. Of course, this is taking a lot more time than getting like 2, 3, or 4 proposals. But why now in Europe, for example, or outside of China or in the US 60? For the simple reason that you do not get a conversion rate of, request for proposal until a proposal of 100%. Many times it will take you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times to contact the same supplier to say, please give me a proposal. I really mean it seriously. I want to produce this product. And by the way, if everything goes well, that's maybe another small hack. In order to get proposals from suppliers, go there and tell them about a positive but realistic outlook. What will it look like in 3 months? What will it look like in 6 months? How many units will you produce with them? Because if you come and you say, I'll have an MOQ, a minimum order quantity of 200 or maybe 500 for the first order, for some of the products, the suppliers will say, meh, why should I do that? 500 units. But if you tell them, but look, there's 500 units or 200 or 50, depending on what kind of product it is, those may be the very start. If things go well, and plus I'm selling on Amazon, I'm selling my web shop, I have contacts to the big box retail, it may be 30,000 in the next 3 months or 6 months, or maybe 10,000 or 5,000. Spike their interest. 60 suppliers outside of China, you won't get so many proposals, plus it takes longer in order to get proposals, plus the search is not so easy like it would be in China if you use Alibaba.com, if you use AliExpress to find suppliers, the 1688.com, which is the Chinese version pretty much of the Alibaba, which actually Yaoliobaba stands for Alibaba, and so on and so on. Now, first hack would be make sure you get enough proposals, because if you're going to buy yourself a car, you're not maybe checking it with 2 dealers, but you're going to check with 10 dealers if it's the same car that available, or 20 dealers to say you want to have the best price, if they're of course all in your region to sell it.
The point is well taken here of take your time, get a lot of proposals, figure out which one's the best. One thing I've heard in manufacturing is I think it's something to the effect of you want a good price, you want them to have good speed, and you want good quality, but you really only ever get 2 out of 3 of those. Is that true?
Well, to be honest, I would put even a few more things in there. It's like how reliable will they be in the future? How easy are they to communicate with changes? They want to do more products and so on and so on. No, you can usually, of course, get all of those things depending on just how deep you look into. Imagine you're contacting 100 suppliers. There's quite likely that you'll get all 3 of them hit. If you, on the other hand, only check for like 2, 3, 4 proposals, of course, you may get only 2 out of 3 checked. But our target list is usually not just like 3 requirements, because when we do sourcing for the other companies, or for founders, for startups, or also medium and large enterprises, Fortune 500 companies, our target is of course not only to say this is the MOQ, this is the product, those are the dimensions, this is the color. We also want to say, well, here comes the packaging, then we want to create this, then we want to have that, then we want the shipping by air, rail, sea, or land, and so many other factors that count in as well. Plus changes here, some changes there, so there will be a lot more coming in. Price, of course, look out for the basics, but you can place a lot more requirements as well.
Mm-hmm. One other aside about this that's sort of interesting to me, and it's just kind of floating in my world, is, if you're a service provider out there and you're watching this, it makes a big difference if you have 30 leads and you choose your best clients versus if you just kind of take a client out of 3 leads. And the same goes for hiring, in terms of the more applicants you can have, the more people, people make it to the interview, maybe you do a test thing, it's like the broader you go, the better place you end up in the end. So it sounds like the same is true of suppliers. So thank you for calling this out.
Absolutely. To be honest, anything where you spend money, time, or investment into something that you want to acquire, get into your possession, into your company or anything, it's always worth negotiating and comparing, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going through this. I want to see if we can get through all 10, and I'm dying to know what they are.
Oh, we will. All right. I'll speed up a little bit. We by now we looked into this actually, a database of suppliers which hits about like 30,000 suppliers by now. So very often the question I get is like, hey, so what do you do? Do you actually go in your database and you just pick them out and you throw them out and you contact them? We say yes, but only very, very partially. So we of course do know the suppliers we worked with, we talk to and so on, we know what they're creating. So we're usually of course picking 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 of the suppliers, contact them, but for each and every product, we also contact then the other 25 or 55 additional potential suppliers, which we search, whether on Google, on Baidu, on Alibaba, and on all of those many other platforms. The reason is, why would you not only contact the ones from your database? Well, a simple thing. Imagine you have one with a plastic injection, molding and so on, and they're producing small-sized products. It doesn't mean that they can make now a dog bowl in the medium size, or maybe whatever. Right now I'm happy to have a fan here running next to me of this size plastic molding. They would need completely different tooling. So every product that we have done, and by now we have sourced for others, for other companies, we've sourced more than 3,000 products at them right now for more than 2,000 customers. And believe me, every product is different. The same as every customer is different. So contact more than only the database that you have, because this way you will find so many more potentials and you'll learn a lot more when it comes to the products, to the certifications, to the requirements. Plus, of course, get better prices and better deals.
I'm guessing for individual e-commerce brands, they may not even have a database at all. The fact that you have one is an advantage, and you're saying go even outside of that, always be looking for new suppliers.
And this is the majority of our customers, is of course e-commerces who either get started or who are big setup as well, who even count to the medium enterprises. There's so many in e-commerce. And of course, you can also, of course, always do the search on your own. It's just a question, how deep do you go? How detailed do you go? And you will search. Anything that we do, anybody else can, of course, do as well. We may have some more experience, like by now, I think a sum of 200 years of sourcing experience with the team. But yes, go in there, find the data. You can do that or use a database that may be open to you. But be sure that, for example, outside of China, you will not find so many suppliers in all of those databases, like Global Sources, Europages, WLW in Germany, and whatever else, because many of the suppliers outside, they are not as strong. There is like no Alibaba for the rest of the world. If there was an Alibaba for the rest of the world, and I think many of them have tried building it, but they just don't succeed. The countries are too different. People or businesses not very often like to sign up in those platforms because they don't really believe it will bring customers.
Yeah, contact data. Does this mean, are they easy to contact and find? Is that the issue?
No, this is coming when you work with a sourcing company, a sourcing agency or anything, like for example us, Zignify Global Product Sourcing. When you pay them in order to find you suppliers and negotiate the prices with them, in my opinion, make sure you get all of the contact data of all of the potential suppliers. And here's why. If you one day want to decide, you know what, I would like to continue right now on my own, maybe money is a little bit tough, or for whatever other reasons, or I want to do the reorders myself, so thank you for finding them, but I like to build up a real close personal partnership, and maybe I'm not that far yet that I completely outsource it, make sure you get the contact data. There are just, I'm not a person who finger points, at others. I do believe that every company that is out there and existing for years that has a reason to be there, because they for sure also do a good job. But I think you very, very often will see that companies will not give the contact data of the supplier. Why? Well, so that they make sure that in the future for the reorders, you have to do the sourcing through them again. We give out all the contact data. You can take over the contact anytime. You also don't only get the contact data from the 2, 3, 4 or so, which we in the end then actually find and suggest to you to get samples from, but we give you the contact data from all 30 or all 60 of them. So in case you want to continue, go ahead, not a problem. Also for the reorders, even though we most of the time do the reorders and the product quality control, the arranging for the shipping, arranging for the logistics, import preparation and so on, make sure if you get in contact with anybody that you will have the data that you need in order to continue on your own. Next one, there are also tons of them out there, and that would say like, or in my opinion, just question it. If somebody says, all right, I'll find you a product, it will cost you $600 or $2,000 or $800 or $1,200, whatever. We have customers, we have products which were super easy to find. we were done, let's say in 15 hours, going through, finding all of them, contacting them, getting the data, getting ready, doing the pre-check of which one should we get. I mean, I'll not go through the whole details now. And that could be done in 15 hours, sometimes maybe even 10. Now, on the other hand, we had a customer who said, it sounds really quite easy. Herbs, you create seeds for herbs. How difficult can it be to find herb producers? Well, let me tell you, if you're going into one very, very specific product, and he had such a belief in his product because he also has good contacts into the big box retail. Of course, I'm never going to say details about the products, and we will never also source a product that we have sourced for somebody else, for you, or the other way around. If we source something for you, we would never source the same product for a different customer again, who will be your immediate direct competitor. If it's different parts of the world, different selling, and at least some supply chain, that's a different topic. But this is maybe hack number 5. Make sure that they will never source a product again that they have sourced before, or that they will not give the data that they've done for you to somebody else. But the fixed rate per product now, we've been searching more than 500 suppliers to find this one specific seed, and after 500 suppliers, we found a way how to actually get this seed by this partner or this supplier being open enough and being also believing enough into this product to say that I'm going to grow that for you. I'm going to harvest it for you. We're going to regrow it so that in in 2 years, we'll come out with 5 kilograms of seeds. So now you have one where it takes 10, 15 hours, and you have one where it takes contacting more than 500 suppliers. How can you put this into one rate? That's impossible. If you go with one fixed rate, you know what's going to happen. They're going to contact 3, 4, 5 of the suppliers. 2 of them give a proposal, maybe 3. They pick one of them, give you the proposal, and say, here it is. But that, to me, that's not deep work. That's not detailed work, and this is you will get the real prices, the best prices. Again, hack number 1, when you have a lot of proposals, not when you have 2 proposals. Next one, bribes by manufacturers. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, of course, back then in our times in China, yeah, I mean, you'll always be invited when you come for quality control, for purchasing and so on. It doesn't matter which factory you're in, or even going to factory to buy for yourself. You'll be picked up in the biggest limousines. You'll be taken to the nicest restaurants. You'll be taken out to karaoke TV. Yes, even the oil, gas business and chemical business, believe me, it was knocking on my door at night, and there was a prostitute been sent to me, where I was like, sorry, no. I mean, my company back then was very, very strict about anything. Plus, I mean, literally that may happen, that you get prostitutes sent to at night, and they will, come for massage.
Just wow. Did you have to tell us, did this offend your sensibilities as sort of a German engineer?
I mean, you wouldn't believe, by now, to be honest, we're not drinking alcohol for several years by now on purpose, get a clear mindset, be strong and challenge yourself, and it became just a habit. But back then, of course, as a German, beer drinker, we were also young guys going out, drinking quite a lot, partying, of course, as well in the younger years. And when you go out there and you go to the real Chinese dinners and you sit there, I mean, there is even a sense in how the table is being set up. You will learn when you walk into the room, who's going to pay. And for example, if in the opposite side, on the left side of him, a big, strong, not to say fat guy sits there, that he's been hired. He doesn't work for the company. He's been hired for drinking. There is insane amounts of drinking of baijiu, and everybody, of course, wants to drink with the dabizi, the big nose, the foreigner, who was back then 26 years old. So believe me, you learn a lot of things, especially when it comes to China. And by being introduced to those things, you don't get offended. You feel, on the other hand, like you're offending then literally the prostitute to say, sorry, no. Can't do that. First of all, staying true to the girlfriend, to the wife, whatsoever. Secondly, company has zero tolerance for such things, and it feels strange to be. You feel rude towards them, but you can't.
Just wow. So the point here on number 5, bribes by manufacturers. I think your point is don't take them. Is that right?
No, I mean, make sure that when you work with sourcing agencies, that they do not take any bribes. Now, I'll explain you how this you can actually check this, because we several times also here, right now, it doesn't mean that we're very often going there, but when we come in, for example, for negotiations, if we do them as well, or how many times have we been offered by the suppliers to say, you know what, here's $5,000, I'll give you $10,000 kickback if I become the supplier for this project. And we'll tell them, it's like, look, we're brand owners ourselves. We know how this works. We know, of course, what we want to do, and we want to source the products the same way as we want to do for our customers. Now, and if we then explain them to say, it's like, even if you give me a bribe, there are 29 others that we're looking for in China, or 59 others that we're looking outside of China. So what do you think realistically your bribe is going to do? How much chance will you have to be really the best offer? And to be honest, I mean, of course, for us, it's so much more important if to have a customer in there for a long term. Plus, I want to put out 100% transparency. So if you're working with sourcing agencies, check out and find how do they make sure that they do not get bribes. Because when we tell this to our suppliers, they will say, it's like, yeah, that's quite a high risk, giving you the money and you still look for 29 others. So even then they understand it's like bribes don't work.
Gotcha. One quick aside here, Sebastian, based on what you said about the big nose comment is, did you and your wife learn Chinese then, or do you know Chinese?
Yes. I mean, my wife,
awesome.
She speaks fluently. I, on the other hand, for me, it's enough to survive. So I went over there as a German engineer. All I needed is English. I wasn't really focusing. I never had, how to say that? People say like the yellow fever for the foreigners who come over there means landing with Asian women, having an Asian girlfriend. I never went into this, or I never had I don't want to say attraction, I never had a Chinese girlfriend. And so I never really learned Chinese. Of course you do learn, you pick it up, and later in the end you study a little bit. And of course you need it for daily life. So for me it's okay to survive, and of course to impress them a little bit. But if I send my better half in there, and she's also a dragon by Chinese zodiac sign, that will impress them. Percentage of order volume. Now, when you're placing an order with them, make sure that your sourcing agency will not ask you for a percentage of the order volume. Why? You place an order for $50,000, they want 10% or 8%. That's what did I say? 50,000 I said, right?
50,000,
So that's
$5,000
like
bucks.
$5,000 or $4,000. I hope my math wasn't right. It's late in Germany. If so, excuse me, please. Now, and for reorders, they will be kind and they'll ask for 6%, and your reorder will be $500,000. So they'll charge you $30,000 for a reorder. You know what? A reorder will cost you a couple of hours of work because you have the product, everything is ready. Yes, it's a bit more work with quality control and this and that. It will cost you a couple $100. We're charging by the hour. We're not charging a percentage of the order volume. We maybe, when it comes to savings in a product, we'll ask for a minority percentage of the savings, but never when we place a new order to say that we will put a percentage on there. And when they offer this, just calculate up how much it will be and how much your reorders will be and think, is it worth it? Believe me, it's not. Quality control, samples, mass production. When you get your samples, of course, you check the quality. But do not forget, when the mass production is done, that you check the quality. Small story, I'm getting faster and faster in speaking. I hope that's okay. Customer, before he came to us, he looked at the samples, ordered the product, mass production, everything went through, shipped, imported, went through bureaucracy, landed in Germany, opened the container, only to learn what? That the mass production did no way look like the quality, like the sample. So please, make sure you get the quality control also on your mass production. Of course, this is what we do for our customers as well. Not a question, especially with mass production. When you go outside of China, expect, please, we used to say 2 emails and 3 calls is what it will take to get a proposal from a potential supplier. By now we say 3 emails and 3 calls. Especially if it's summer vacation, especially if they're corona sick, especially if they're only checking 1 out of their 5 email inboxes, and you need to call. Europeans, Americans, or in general from the Americas, they very often don't take requests for proposals so serious because they very often believe you're just comparing prices and in the end you're going to go to China. So be patient, stick with it, you will get proposals. Don't contact aimlessly. The shotgun principle is like you take the shotgun, you just boom, you spread it all widely, and then you see it's like, okay, I found a ton of plastic injection molding, but if you're not making the fine work in the beginning, means like, okay, let's only focus on the ones that actually have the right size, could do this injection molding, or if you want to say, I want to reduce recycled plastics, for example, or environmentally friendly plastics, to say that pick them out before you contact them, because if they all answer, they all send you proposals, you look through the 50 proposals, and then in the end you just notice like, well, okay, only 5 of them are actually what I want to do. So first aim, then shoot. And the last one is the undercover hack that I want to bring in. I myself, my first brand, make small wallets, slim wallets, RFID blocker cards, RFID protection, all of those things where you today shouldn't go in there anymore. That's from 2015. Prices went down, too much competition. So this is my playground. But back then I produced slim wallets. Let's say in the beginning they gave me a quotation of $5.20 or so per slim wallet. Later on over the years I got them negotiated down from $5.20, we went to whatever $4.30, and maybe if I was lucky, literally they got me then the prices for $3.90 after working 4 or 5 years with them. So $3.90 then was my price 5 years later. Now, undercover hack, you go in there, you contact the same supplier of your product after 1 year or 2 years, and just start pretending you're a new customer. And they will not maybe offer you $3.90. For a new customer, they may offer you $2.20. And then you see, it's like, aha, my dear supplier, you try to do the best for me. You've been cheating me for years to give me different prices, because for new customers, and by the way, here's proof in the email, this is, you give very different prices to new customers. Why don't I give them? By the way, let's talk about how do I get the money back from the last years. By the way, in China, you will never get this back unless you have some really strong negotiation and some good outlook for the future. Yeah, this would work hardly. But go in there and check with a different name, what prices do they give.
When you say you'll never get this back, is that saying, hey, I want the price you gave this supposedly new customer, or is the relationship done then? What happens after you do the undercover hack, which I think is brilliant?
I mean, you do learn, of course, yourselves, like, hey, you've been tricked. What I mean is, like, if you're asking for the difference, for example, of the prices that they got you in the last years, they will not pay you anything back, of course not. But you for sure will get the new prices now as well. And then what will they tell you? Oh, no, we just have new materials and we just reduced the prices 2 weeks ago. I was about to contact you and tell you.
Oh, I see. I wasn't even thinking we want the price retroactively. That's what you're saying. But you could potentially get that new undercover hack price going forward. Is that right?
And that's also what we do for many of our customers, is especially the ones that have successful products, take their best sellers. And we go in and we start finding new supply, either the same one, or this is also maybe a hack number, I don't know how many it was by now. Another one, if you have successful products, start considering finding the same product from a different supplier and renegotiate the prices. So what we do the same is, for example, if you have successful products, feel free to contact us, do it on yourself, whatever, find another 30 suppliers or 10 or 20 or 50 or 60 and get the prices and see what you can do. Very, very often, literally, or for many of our customers that are really having, of course, that are selling a lot already, we very often save millions of dollars by finding the same product from a different supplier. And this is where we then come in and say, all right, we'll find a whatever percentage of the savings that you get, not of the whole price, just of the savings, and the rest of the savings is immediately yours. Believe me, you can save millions of dollars with that. And even if you're a starter, like one of our customers, beauty niche, beauty tools, we found him very quickly a new supplier. He makes this product $1 cheaper. Well, and the supplier last year was 300 and this year 500 products. 500,000 products. So he's selling this with a little bit of research. We saved him $500,000 per year. And that's a lot of margin.
That's great. Sebastian, thank you. It's been so fun. Thank you for joining us also late. I think you're in, do I say Leipzig, Germany, or Leipzig?
That's correct. Leipzig it is, yeah. But Leipzig is a quite common pronunciation.
I got a D in 10th grade German, but I remember if it goes EI, you say the I. So like Leipzig, that makes sense.
You've learned it, and you spell it the other way around. IE, that's beer, and I think beer everybody can speak. So.
All right, thank you. Well, this has been such a blast. Thank you for connecting. Thank you for sharing your expertise. It's obvious you guys go really deep on this. You kind of ended there too on the why of this can save you a lot of money every single year, particularly if you're a bigger company or you're running a lot of orders. At what point does this make sense for e-commerce sellers, and what's the best way for them to find you?
Oh, that's also really, really good question. If you're starting out and you're thinking of, you're only wanting to spend for whatever, how much money it would be, let's say 200 products, 500 products, depending on how much it is. I mean, if the total order in the beginning is just like you would spend like $1,000 or so, if it's in China, it would probably cost us like $1,000 for the sourcing, maybe 1,500 for the sourcing. Outside of China, maybe 2,000 to 3,000, depending always on which product it is. So if you're thinking of spending just like $500 on the first product, it maybe doesn't make sense. Go and learn those things. It's super, super useful. Also, before you're working with a sourcing agency together, to learn. Like, you wouldn't expect sometimes how much time it takes to communicate with a supplier to find out the information. It does. So go practice. Do it. If you, on the other hand, say, like, you know what, sure, I know that this product's going to fly, let's do the first ones, and I know that soon I'm going to order a couple thousand more, well, then it makes sense. But usually what we say for all the starters who are very, very fresh in the market, who maybe source their very first product and maybe don't have the money, say like $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 for sourcing, depending on where from, then go for it on your own. Go through it, learn it, spend the many, many hours. And when the time comes where you say, you know what, my time is better spent on selling and on marketing, and I want to have a professional on the side who does the sourcing, then go to a sourcing company.
And you guys are Zignify.net, right? It's Zignify.net. Is that correct?
That is correct. And let me just blind this one in here. Again, where do I have this? Maybe, yeah, this one here down there. Grab your phones. Feel free to do a scan here on the QR code. Zignify.net. There's also a booking, like a button on top. You just click on there and you get you book a Zoom call or scan the code down here. This is leading directly to a call with us for sourcing, quality control, supply chain, photography, the basics one, the background, logistics, labeling, and anything you would need, also certification support if the products need to be checked, and whatever else we can help you with. Now, I'm also more than happy, of course, later on to connect you with, after sourcing, after having a product, you pretty much have nothing yet. You need somebody who takes great pictures of your product if you don't do this yourself. You need somebody who writes great SEO texts so that it can be found. You need somebody who does the advertisement, for example, on Shopify, and you know who to go with. I mean, Egan is right there. When you need the advertising for Facebook, you need it for Instagram, you need it for Google. I don't think I need to introduce him to you, but at the same time you'll need 3PL, you need storage, you need a fulfiller, you need somebody else for tax declaration, bookkeeping, and so on. We know the people, and I'm very, very happy to connect you also later on, of course, with them. So just feel free, reach out. I may know some of them. I'm not getting any money. I'm just very, very happy to connect. And if you want to connect to us as well directly on LinkedIn, left side, that's my better half. Right side, that's me. Julia Blinova and Sebastian Herz, the ones with the Chinese characters. Feel free, of course, scan them, go to LinkedIn. This is where we can be found.
All right. Sebastian Herz, Zignify Global Product Sourcing. Thank you so much for sharing what's working in e-commerce.
Thank you very much.